Hi guys, welcome back or welcome if you're new. My name is Tiana and I'm the maker behind Also Stitched, and today we have something different. I have decided to separate my knitting content from the crochet content just to make it easier for you guys in case you're not interested in knitting, so that you don't have to listen me talking about knitting in my regular videos. So I'm launching this as a traditional knitting podcast, the way the knitters do. They usually talk about the finished objects, works in progress, and acquisitions. So that's the format I will be following because I really enjoy watching those videos and I do have a lot to share. For the past 2 months, I've been knitting a lot. Since my supernova market convention, whatever you want to call it, I felt very overwhelmed with crochet, and actually I didn't have any markets to prep for because we are in the winter, it's really cold and I don't like to do outdoor markets when it's this cold. So I decided it's time to finish all the projects that I have casted on back in March. Okay, yes, I forgot to mention I'm in Sydney, Australia. That's why I'm in winter at the moment. Actually, we are only 3 days away from spring and I cannot wait for spring to hit because this winter was very long and cold and depressing for me, and I'm looking forward to some sunshine and warm weather. I will still continue with my crochet content because I do have markets to prep for. It is just a bit less at the moment, but I will still need to continue crocheting and market prepping because that's what I do. Let me just take you a bit back to how I started knitting and when I started knitting. So I learned knitting when I was only 6 years old, which was almost 35 years ago. And my mom was a huge knitter. She was knitting her own clothes, sewing her own clothes. She was doing everything herself. At the time, knitting for me was anxiety management, which I didn't even know at a time. I was knitting just for the purpose of fidgeting with something. It was really relaxing for me. I was doing beanies, I was doing scarves, actually there was no project in mind when I was knitting. I was usually just fidgeting and frogging and fidgeting and frogging, and that's what I was doing. But I had it in my hands. I had the muscle memory. It's like a bike. Once you learn how to ride a bike, you will never forget. Since my mom was making all the clothes and everything, I actually never got to learn those things from her. When I was around 25, I learned crocheting, and since then I've been only crocheting. During COVID, my mom passed away and I couldn't travel back to Croatia because there was no traveling during COVID. So this year in January, I visited Croatia first time since my mom passed away, and actually first time in 5 years since we moved to Australia. I've been living in Australia for almost 7 years now. It was really hard actually because I only have brother left in Croatia and I had to go through all my mother's belongings and my grandfather because my grandfather passed away 2 weeks after her, which I know it was her father, so he was 101, and yeah, he passed away just from the sadness. He was healthy 100-year-old man. So yeah, I got to go through her belongings and I find her needles, and it clicked back to me that I do want to start knitting again. I brought that needles with me in Australia. I'm not using them because they are very either bent or without numbers. They're very old and very used, and I just want to cherish them and keep them. Back in February, I ordered needles immediately online and start playing, start exploring, start reminding myself what is my knitting style, because last time I remember knitting I was 20, so it's been 20 years since then, and I actually forgot what was my knitting style, and it took me a while just to fidget, to try. Knits were not a problem, purling was a problem. It took me a while to figure out that I'm actually continental combination knitter, because once I start purling it wasn't natural, and then I went searching on Google, why am I struggling with my pearls, why is this not coming easy to me? And then I realized that I've learned combination continental knitting, which I am purling differently than most knitters do. I am purling clockwise while most of the knitters purled anti-clockwise. And once I figured that out, it was a smooth sailing, and it was an easy process. It took me a while to figure out that most of the things on YouTube are geared towards just the continental continental or English knitters, no one actually talks a lot about combination knitting. There are few people who do explain things, which was my biggest struggle because everything is different. So yeah, after I figure out my style, I went into researching where should I start, who should I start with, which patterns to try and things like that. And PetiteKnit was the obvious choice. Everyone talks about her and her designs being timeless, easy, straightforward, very well written. So I decided to start with her patterns, and they are really, really good and so easy to follow for anyone who is starting fresh or new. It really is the easiest way to get into knitting, I have to say. I think back in February I started with her December bow because I do have business. My business name is also Stitched, so I do sell crochet plushies, hair accessories which are sewn, embroidered things and things like that. And I was like, I'm just gonna try do something for my business that I can sell, because I am a process knitter and crocheter. I'm excited for the process of knitting and crocheting. So I was like, I'm just gonna do something for my business that I can sell. I don't have to keep it. And that's why I started with December bow, and I made 4 of them. And I actually sold 2 of them, and I made them as a hair accessory bow. And then I was like, I should start making garments because that's the best part of knitting. I started with a couple of projects back in February, just practicing on some acrylic yarn because that's what I had in my stash, and I didn't like the look of it. I didn't like the feel of it. I started 2 projects. One was Monday sweater and the other was weekend slipover v-neck, which is what I'm wearing, but I'll talk about it in a second. And I didn't like it, so I was just frogging back and learning, and then I decided I need to try wool. I don't actually remember me working with wool ever as a kid. I don't know, because when I started crocheting I was only working with cotton. I was making blankets, hats, and everything for my daughter was in cotton. So I was like, I just need to start with wool. I just want to experience that and learn what is the difference. And there is a huge difference, I have to say. Working with wool is really beautiful. I decided to start with Bendigo Woollen Mills. First of all, it's Australian, it's available, it's cheap, and it's really good quality, I have to say. I have tried every wool at the moment that Bendigo offers, except for new one, alpaca. I have a lot to talk about it, so I'm looking forward to talk you through my garments that are made in Bendigo Woollen Mills, because my experience with this yarn is really beautiful and I see myself using that yarn a lot. So yeah, that is how I started, went back into knitting. So technically, I could say I'm knitting for 35 years, but I do only remember myself knitting for the first 15 years of my life, and then the last 20 I've been only crocheting, but I was only 6. And I'm happy that I have learned that, and it really helped me transitioning after crocheting to knitting. It was an easy transition, and I have to say I love it. Compared to crocheting, for crocheting I mostly do plushies and things that I'm selling, but knitting is so much more relaxing because there is point of the garment when you just go with the stockinette, and it's very mindless and fidgeting, and it's something I need for my anxiety and depression. I just need something to fidget, to work with my hands, to keep me calm, and it really does keep me, it saves me this winter. So without further ado, I'm just gonna go straight into all my finished objects because we have 7 of them. Maybe 8. I have one object that I'm not sure if it's finished or not. We'll see. I'm not sure if it's finished. We'll see. I'm gonna start with what I'm wearing because this is the first object that I have finished, and I think the first that I have casted on. This is the Weekend Slipover V-neck by PetiteKnit. It is made on 5.5 mil needles, so it was a pretty quick make. I have to be honest, I'm not sure if this was the best project for a beginner. I wasn't smart about that because I didn't know what to expect. If I was a beginner, I would definitely start with the raglan sweater because there was so much going on here that was new to me, and I did struggle for my first project I did struggle. So the way this is made, you start from the back panel with some German short rows to help you shape the back. Then you pick up the stitches and do the front. My first pickup wasn't the nicest, I have to say, because I was very tight. With everything I was doing, my tension was tight, and you can definitely see the line where I've picked up the stitches. Then you do the V-neck increases, same with the armhole increases, and then you join in the round. So this is actually a project that I worked flat for a bigger part and then joined in the round. And this is where I realized that my tension is very different working flat to in the round, which luckily this yarn blocked out beautifully and there is no rowing visible. The thing with combination continental knitting, I don't have issue with my purling row. I have issue with my knitting row. My knitting rows were bigger than the purling rows, or looser. That's what my starting problem is. I think with all these projects, I'm not sure if you can see at all how many I have here. No, you won't. I've learned how to manage my tension, and it's getting better. It's getting definitely better, but after first project, yes, I've learned my lessons. The second thing was joining in the round. I'm sure you can tell, just coming closer, you can see this line. This is where I joined and pulled tight, very tight. So I don't even know what to say about this, because I didn't realize it until I washed it and blocked it and looked close. So it was just probably me pulling very tight on this first row when I was joining, and it's very visible and obvious. Second thing I made mistake is, as you can see here, there are more stitches on this side than this side. How this happened, I have to be honest, I don't know, because I'm very perfectionist and I'm very picky when I'm doing things like that. So I made sure to pick up the stitches along the neckline in segments. I actually sectioned all of these to make sure that I'm picking up the correct amount of stitches in each segment. And how this happened, I don't know. It is the first project and it taught me a lot. I've learned a lot. I'm just not gonna be picky. I've accepted it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna wear it outside. I'm wearing this a lot. Every night when I shower, put my pajama on, I put this on to keep me warm. And it's beautiful. I love it. Let's talk about the yarn. The yarn is from the Bendigo Woollen Mills. It is their luxury line. This is 10 ply in color Koala. I have very, very, very sensitive skin, like extremely sensitive skin, to the point if you touch me, I'll get red, I'll get bruised, I'll get whatever. So trying yarns was a challenge for me. First, when this arrived, I always put yarn next to my neck just to test it. And this was prickling. This was itching, prickling, and I was like, this is luxury. This should be soft. How I'm gonna deal with other yarns? But I have to say it washed very nice and it softened. I can still feel it, for example, even though it's not touching my neck. That's why I went with the V-neck Slipover, because I didn't want it to touch my neck. And I was scared just touching my arms here, because even here my arms are very sensitive. I was scared that it's gonna irritate me, but it's not. It's softened. And I feel like I'm getting used to the yarn, and I think that over time I will build up my tolerance towards the wool yarn and I'll be able to wear it. We'll see. There are so many yarns and all of the yarns are different, so we'll see. This yarn is blocking really nice. This is where I had the biggest issues with rowing, especially on this part. I think it blocked nicely. I think it's good. It's good how it looked before blocking. Also, what I've learned is how to weave ends without being visible. That was also challenging, and not just that, joining the new ball without it being so obvious. This was a learning curve for me, and not just this, let's face it, there are a couple of more objects that were learning curve, and I'm still learning, let's face it. And there is so much that you can learn, and I'm so looking forward to it because I'm enjoying this process. I've been enjoying knitting, and there is so much I want to do now. I ended up making 2XL just because I was off with the gauge. The pattern gauge was 15 stitches and I was on 19 stitches. I was pretty tight. I am a tight knitter. Occasionally I can loosen up, which is actually bad. I need to remind myself to keep my tension same from start to end, otherwise it just gets loose and dress-like. But yeah, I decided to make 2XL just to fit me oversized, because this is how I plan to wear it over the t-shirts, so yeah, I'm wearing it a bit oversized and loose, and I don't mind. I do see myself making another one of these because I do like the fit and I do like the look of it. Definitely size down to make it more like fitted, feminine, but in general I'm very oversized. I'm not a dress-up girl. I usually wear oversized clothes and just basic clothes. I'm not like into fashion or anything like this. But starting knitting, I can see myself making a lot more than I ever thought I would be able to wear, so we'll see where this takes me. So this project was 117 days on my needles, which I did start it back in March and finished it at the start of July after that market. But at that time I did have a lot of markets. I was crocheting a lot and market prepping, so yeah, it took a while. The total amount of yarn I used for this garment was 470 grams, which is pretty good. Bendigo Woollen Mills yarn is not expensive. I think this yarn was around 19.95 if I remember correctly, which Bendigo Woollen Mills come in those 200 grams balls. If you watch my previous videos, I did talk about the haul when I received the yarns back in my weekly crochet makes. I also included that, but in general it is very cheap. The pattern for this cost me $11.10, and that is dependent on the day of the purchase and conversion rate, and the total used yarn for this project costed me $43. So in total this project cost me $54.10 Australian dollars, just to remember, which is not too bad. I think this is really nice yarn. I would say the luxury is the way to go because it is softer. It is still that rustic wool feel, but bear in mind it does grow a lot with blocking. Yes. Which I didn't mind. I need some length though, so I was good with that. But it is really nice yarn. I am planning to work more with it and maybe try some close-fitting garments to see how my neck is gonna handle this. I just didn't want to risk it with this garment because I was scared. I was scared honestly it's gonna be too itchy, but now that I can feel it, I think I would be able to handle it. This was my next casted project, but it wasn't actually my next finished project, but I'll still talk about this first because this is what I ordered. When I ordered this for myself, I ordered Bendigo Woollen Mills classic yarn in 8 ply in color mineral mix, and I wanted to make my husband a sweater. This is Hands Home sweater by PetiteKnit. It is just the classic raglan sweater where you start from the top. It has double folded collar and you work in the round with some raglan increases, separate for the body and sleeve, and it is just straightforward with 1x1 rib on the bottom. This has to be my favorite thing to knit because it is really mindless and it's on such a small needles. I mean small, it's on a 4mm needles, which is really satisfying to work with and it's really enjoyable. I loved working on this. Bendigo Woollen Mills classic yarn is very rough, I have to say. First, when I started working with it, I was irritated. I was actually feeling it on my hands since these are my sensitive parts of the hands. As the garment was getting bigger, I could feel it just rubbing against me. It was irritating me. And I actually didn't thought I would like this yarn. But again, with blocking, this has softened so much. It is so much nicer and it is... I'm not sure if I would be able to wear it around my neck because I can feel it. It's really prickling me, but my husband has zero problem with anything itchy, prickling, nothing. He can wear anything. The problem he has, he said, it is very warm, which we are in Australia. Even in the coldest months, we don't need such a heavy winter garment. So I am looking into the different options for the sweaters for him to make it more Australian weather appropriate, because our winters, the lowest temperatures go around 5 in the morning to 15 to 20 in the afternoon. So it can get really hot, unlike in Europe where you go in the morning from minus and then day temperatures are barely 0 or 5 in the winter. That would be the best project for European winters, but not here in Australia, because if the day temperature goes to 15, you're boiling in this. But he loves it. He is really knit worthy person and he loves wearing jumpers and knitting garments in general. I just have to find yarn that is gonna be less warm, more weather appropriate. In saying that, this has blocked really nicely. The stitch definition looks beautiful. For my second finished project, I really love this and I'm happy that he is happy with it and he wants more, and I'm happy to give him. Yeah, because I enjoy knitting. I'm a process knitter. For me, the process of knitting, choosing yarn, choosing pattern is the part that I enjoy the most, and there's only so much garments I can wear, so I will knit for him more for sure. So like I said, this is made on 4mm needle size. I made him size medium and I was on gauge with this project, which I've come to realization that with PetiteKnit's projects on 4mm needles and everything she does like in 8-ply, I'm spot on gauge with her patterns, which is actually so easy because now I know what works for me. You can see I'm itching just by touching this. It still irritates me, so I'm not sure the classic yarn from Bendigo Woollen Mills will be something that I will be able to wear or work with, but it is really good quality yarn. It is like timeless. So this project was 122 days on my needles. It did take long. It was this, I think I cast it on a week after this, so it took quite a bit, but I'm happy he got it before the winter was over and he got a chance to wear it a couple of times. And the total yarn used for this project was 680 grams, which is a bit unfortunate because with Bendigo Woollen Mills yarn you have to order 200 grams balls and then you just dip a bit into the fourth ball and then you have so much left over. But it is what it is. At least they are cheap. I think classic yarn is like $16.95 per ball, which is very cheap. For this project I used 1,360 meters in total. Pattern costs me 12 Australian dollars and the yarn cost was $55. The yarn that was used in this project. So in total, this project cost me $67, which is really not bad. So yeah, that is the Hands Home Sweater by PetiteKnit. My third finished project, because another project was done before this. It is very beautiful pattern, simple, classic, timeless. You can see the raglan increases are very simple. The double folded collar is really nice. It's such a beautiful way to do this and simple, and yeah, I loved it. I've learned a lot. I've learned the Italian bind off with this, which is really beautiful finish. I have to say this is the best way to bind off Italian tubular bind off. It is such a beautiful finish and yeah, stunning. I love this. And I have to say Italian bind off is very relaxing for me. It takes a long time. For example, just to bind off the bottom of the sweater, it takes me around 2 hours because you are sewing for a very long time. I feel like the most of the time you're just pulling the thread through the stitches instead of sewing. But I have to say that is really relaxing for me. I enjoy doing Italian bind off. It does take a long time, but it is really worth all the time. So it is something that I will be doing for sure. I don't see myself doing like that basic bind off. I just don't find that one nice or neat, or this is really worth the time. My next finished object is Tolsta tea by Creabea or Rebecca Clow. This wasn't actually planned, this was just an impulse start in between those two projects that I was finishing and starting. This just flew off my needles. This was so much fun. I had a huge box of Hobbii cotton. They're Friends cotton and Rainbow 8-ply cotton. Hobbii is no longer shipping to Australia, so I'm just not gonna talk about it a lot because you can do this with any 8-ply cotton. Tolsta tea comes with DK weight and fingering weight pattern. You can make it any way you want. You can do long sleeve, short sleeve, you can do stripes, you can do eyelets. There is so much you can do. Creabea does such a beautiful patterns, and they are, she calls them mega patterns because there is more than one thing you get in those patterns, and that's what I love. So with all that cotton I had lying around, I had like 2 balls of random colors, and I still have plenty. I can make probably 5 of these t-shirts. It is just I don't have the nice colors to put together. I decided to make this. This is done on 5mm needles, and supposed gauge is 15 stitches, which I did not get when we started because working with cotton I realized I need to tighten my tension in case I want this to look beautiful, because cotton is not forgiving. You cannot block cotton, you cannot get out the rowing tension issues, anything, nothing can be done after blocking. You need to be mindful from starting the project that you will have tension issues in case you're not careful. And that's what I did. I was very careful, I was very tight. I could barely slide my stitches on the needle to the point that I did 5mm needle in my right hand and 4.5 in my left hand, just so I can slide those stitches easier on my left hand and work them with my right hand. And it worked beautifully. I do have to say the stitch definition here is perfection. It is just so beautiful. With that being said, this garment is heavy garment. This is 8-ply cotton, and this garment for a t-shirt is really heavy. Since I was tight with my tension, I ended up with a 17 stitch gauge, and this has no positive ease. I think I managed to get it with blocking like 1 or 2 centimeters positive ease, but before that it actually had negative ease, which is still fine for a t-shirt. For summer t-shirt, I won't be able to wear this in the summer because it would be just too hot, because it is too tight fitting on my body. It still fits nice, it's still really beautiful. I enjoy wearing it, I enjoyed working on it, and yeah, it just makes me happy to see all these colors. It is very colorful, very spring summer like. I decided to go for a bit longer sleeves just because, I don't know, I'm kind of mindful of my arms and I like wearing longer sleeves. That's why I extended the sleeves a bit. Same with the bottom ribbing, because I didn't have other colors to add. And yeah, I enjoy making this. This was on my needles for only 8 days. It is a looser gauge, so it is on a 15 stitches gauge, so it was a quick knit, and just doing stripes were so engaging and so potato chippy. You just want to get to the next one and just see it grow, see all the colors come together. So yeah, this was a really fun knit and I enjoyed making it. So in total I used 440 grams, and that was 660 meters used for this garment. I paid a pattern $16.79, which is on a pricier side, but when you remember she offers you fingering and DK weight, and she has all the mods where you can do all the different stripes, eyelets, long sleeves, short sleeves. There is so much in the pattern, so it's really worth the money. The yarn cost was $24, and in total this project cost me $40.79, which is not too bad. I have to say, I love working with cotton. I am not one of those people who hate cotton. It wasn't hard on my hands. It was only hard because I was too tight with my tension, but I've learned my lesson, and we'll talk about it in a second, because I have another project I did in the same cotton and I didn't have any issues with being too tight because I've learned how to do it. The stitch definition of cotton is something that I just enjoy looking. I enjoyed working every single stitch on this because how beautiful it is, how nice the finished project is, and it was really enjoyable knit. So yeah, that's my Tolsta tee by Creabea. My next finished project was Monday Sweater by PetiteKnit, another PetiteKnit basic raglan sweater. It is very similar to Hands Home men's sweater. It is just the difference is in the ribbing. You have a lot more ribbing going on for the cuff and the bottom hem. I do have to say I will make this sweater again, but I probably won't do this long cuff. I didn't want to modify it on my first one because I just wanted to stick to the pattern to see if I like it. I don't mind it, but it is, for example, I cannot wear my watch with it. My Apple Watch is very bulky, and if I wear it with this, it is just bulging and it's not comfortable. So probably next time I will make it a bit shorter because I do plan to make more of the Monday sweater because it is just such a basic and beautiful raglan sweater that you cannot go wrong. There is a slight difference with the raglan increase. She has you a couple of stitches in between raglan increase, so it gives this nice and different raglan. The yarn I've used for this project is another Bendigo Woollen Mills yarn, but this time I used their Whisper range. This is by far the softest yarn you can get. This is like heaven. Honestly, guys, this has zero prickling effect on my neck, zero irritation. This is so soft. This is nice. So nice. I enjoyed working with this. This was sliding off my needles. I worked this on my Signet bamboo needles because it was so slippery that I didn't want to work it on my metal needles because I use nickel coated metal needles. They're very slippery. So I went with the bamboo needles and it was a pleasure to work with. I did have some tension issues to start with. The first part of the yoke, the whole yoke, I was very loose. I was very relaxed because how soft this yarn was and how it was flying off my needles. So there is a bit of tension issues in this part. And then when I looked back and realized I need to tighten my tension because I'm not sure how it's gonna block. So the bottom is perfect, but I tightened my tension on the bottom and it is just perfect. Again, I did Italian bind off. I also did it for my Tolsta tee. It is the only bind off I will be doing when it comes to ribbing. It's beautiful. I have no issues working with sleeves. I know a lot of people talk about sleeve island. I don't have those issues. Sleeves are very mindless for me and I enjoy working them. I do sleeves on 16-inch circulars on 4-inch needles, and then when I come to cuff I switch to 9-inch circulars or 2-inch tips needles, whatever. Working on a circulars, it is really mindless for me and I enjoy the process, so I don't have any issues with sleeve islands and things like that. I would definitely recommend you Whisper range from Bendigo Woollen Mills, but beware that it grows a lot. Like this sleeve has grown this much. I still don't mind it. It still fits me nice, loose and oversized. But if I knew that, I wouldn't be... I could easily just cut into this and they will still fit perfect. But I don't wanna. I'm just gonna go with the flow, see how it grows. I expect this might grow even more over time. And then I might go back and do the sweater surgery and shorten the sleeves. We'll see. But it's really beautiful. It's really nice and soft and it's enjoyable to work with it. It is so nice on your body, so soft. You can wear this without shirt underneath, how soft it is. The construction was same, the double folded collar, 1x1 rib, and everything else was the same. I forgot to mention the color from the Bendigo Woollen Mills Whisper. This is Magnolia color. It's very like off-white, more yellowish tone. The pattern is worked on a 4mm needles. Again, I am on gauge with PetiteKnit, so it was a perfect fit for me. I made size large just because I am in between sizes. I'm still learning what should I make when it comes to garment, especially with PetiteKnit. I think from now on I will be making medium, because she has sizes in between. Like, for example, medium is bust circumference of 90 to 95, and then large is 95 to 100. And I'm 95. And I decided to go for the large because I'm never sure how it's gonna fit me. I would rather have it bigger and loose and oversized than small and not fitting properly. But with this yarn also stretched widthwise and lengthwise, so I have an oversized garment which I could have easily sized down to medium. And it will also depend a lot on the yarn that you are using. So I would rather have a larger garment than smaller because I like oversized look. So this was on my needles for only 20 days. Well, I mean only, because I didn't knit monogamously on this. I always have 3 or 4, even 5 projects on the go. So to finish this in the 20 days just tells you how I enjoy this project and this yarn. And I'm really craving another project. I'm really craving Whisper on my needles, how it's really pleasure to work with this yarn. I actually timed myself working on this project, and it took me 70 hours and 51 minutes to finish this project in those 20 days. So not too bad. I wouldn't consider myself a fast knitter, but I also wouldn't consider myself a slow knitter. I like to say this even for crocheting. I am a cozy crocheter and knitter because I really enjoy the process. I'm not rushing to finish the project because I don't need an object finished. I need the process to last and to give me the enjoyment of working on it. I just simply enjoy the process. And if this would last 100 hours, I will still work on it. So I used 630 grams for this project, which again, it is 30 grams dipping into the 4th Bendigo Woollen Mills 200 gram balls. But I think if I did cut the ribbing short and maybe the bottom ribbing shorter and just do the stockinette, I could pull Monday's sweater with only 3 balls. One more thing to say about the Whisper I forget to mention. This is peeling a lot, which is normally a problem. The softer the yarn is, the more it will peel. But this technically didn't peel yet. This was... When I pulled this out of the washing machine, first of all, I didn't wash it in machine. This is hand washed. I just spin my garments in the washing machine. Even though this yarn is machine washable, I won't be doing that. I will still hand wash the garment, but I do spin them in the washing machine just to speed up the drying process when I'm blocking my garments, because we are in winter and it would take forever to dry. When I spin this in my washing machine was covered in white fluff. It was so bad. I could actually just collect all the fluff and make a bunny out of it, how much it was it. And when I was blocking it, I could also pull a lot of it. So I do expect this to peel a lot and shed, and you will be covered in fluff. Don't wear black pants or anything while wearing this because you will be covered in fluff. Just a side note, which it's usually what happens, the fluffier, the softer the yarn is, the more shedding and peeling you will get. But still, I love this yarn. It's not gonna bother me. It's not gonna bother me to try another one. So in total, I used 1260 meters for this project. Bear in mind, I made size large for this one. The pattern cost me $11.59. The total amount of yarn used cost me $73. Whisper is a bit more pricier. I think Whisper is 22 or 23.95, something like that. It is a bit more pricier, but it is worth. And in total, the whole project cost me $84.59, which I still consider a bargain for a wool sweater. All right, this is taking forever. I feel like this is gonna be a long video and we are not even halfway through. This project, this was more like me trying to see why is everyone talking about ranunculus. I was like, What is it about the ranunculus that everyone is talking about? That everyone is making 4, 5, 6 of the ranunculi? I was like, why? What's the fuss with this pattern? I need to try and see myself. This is a pattern by Midori Hirose. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. It is an old pattern, very well known in the knitting community. So this is the circular yoke where you start with this lace, and then you don't have to decide on the sizing until you get to the raglan increases. And I feel like this is why this pattern is so popular, because it gives you the options to decide on the sizing, on the yarn you're gonna use. Okay, I feel like I'm gonna be all over the place with this pattern, just explaining the hype, because I did not feel the hype. I wasn't so much in love with this. I don't know. Let's start with the construction. So this is top-down construction. You start with this lace yoke on a 6mm needles. The stitch gauge is only 14 stitches, and that's what everyone is crazy about, because you can do so much with 14 stitches gauge and so many different yarns you can use on a 6mm needles. I decided to go with the fingering in a cotton. This is really nice, flowy, drapey, very open gauge, very mesh looking like. I'm not a huge fan of this. I do see myself wearing this, but this would be something like more dress up, which I'm not. I would probably wear it just over the white t-shirt, even though I tried this on my nude bra and it's not showing and it's really looking okay. I could still wear it. I do see people making this in more like woolly yarn, so they just got the lace and the rest they made in like a pullover jumper. I've seen a lot of beautiful garments made in this, but I just wasn't impressed. It is just not my style. I did struggle with tension, being fingering weight on a 6mm needles. Yeah, you can see some parts have a bigger holes, some parts have some smaller holes. There is like a lot going on here, which is not too bad. I mean, this is still wearable. It is just not my favorite. I did make a mistake somewhere in the lace. I'm not sure where. I don't know, I can't find it. Oh, I think it's here. You can see here there is a mistake made, but I did realize it on the round after, but this was my first time doing lace and I just couldn't go back and fix it because there was too many yarn over, knitted together, slips, SSKs and everything going on, and I was like, if I go back even one by one stitch, I wouldn't be able to collect everything as I should. I will probably lose more than I would gain with fixing that, and I was just fine. If I ever wear this, I'll let you know, because I don't see myself wearing this. And I don't see myself making another ranunculus because, I don't know, it's just not my style. I did it because I was curious what it is. I'm glad that I tried circular yoke construction. I'm glad that I tried lace. I'm glad that I tried working on these huge needles, getting this mesh garment, but I won't be making another one. The yarn I used was Bendigo Woollen Mills 4-ply cotton in colorway buttercream, and this was on my needles for only 19 days. I did also time myself with this project and it took me 24 hours and 40 minutes. It used only 160 grams of yarn, which is under one skein, which is amazing. I could easily make it longer, even make I think I could possibly make a longer sleeve or sleeves or something like that. The total meterage for this was 536 meters. The pattern cost me $11.27 and the yarn cost me $15. In total, this project was $26.27. And I also think another problem with this color is it is very much my skin tone, and I feel like it's washing me out when I put it on myself. It's disappearing on me. But oh well, lesson learned. Alright, so those are all the finished garments. I do have some accessories to show you. The first one I finished is a muscle bra head by Ysolda. This is a very popular beanie pattern. It is on a smaller gauge. You can see how tiny those stitches are. This yarn is Hobbii Silly Sock Flower Pot. I already made one socks. If you have watched my other videos, I did show them. And I decided I don't want to have another set of socks in this color. So I was like, what should I do with this one skein? And everyone keeps saying that out of that skein you can make a muscle bra. And I was like, fine. That's actually perfect because I like to have small projects on the go which are easily picked up, light and mindless, because this is very mindless project. I'm gonna show you how this looks like. First you start with increases and then you go for what it feels like forever and then you do decreases and that's it. This is something you would normally do on a centro machine because that's how the centro works. You just crank all those heads and then just put them one inside out and that's it. This was really relaxing project. I need projects like this on my needles when I don't have to think. I like to take these projects on my school runs because I do have around 15 minutes between two schools when I'm picking my kids, and I like to kill the time with small projects on small needles, and this was fun. This was on my needle for 37 days, which is not too bad when you consider that this is made on 3mm needles. This is really tiny, tiny, tiny. I enjoyed making this and I do see myself making more of this just because of the enjoyment of the process. The problem is we don't wear hats in Australia. We don't even need hats in Australia. So I might do this as a gift knits and then send to my family in Croatia because their winters are very cold and they can get use of it. Actually, my son requested this one because he thought it is okay, it is nice color. It is very scratchy for a garment, but I tried it on my head. It doesn't bother me on my forehead, so it should be fine. I'm just gonna keep this in my stash and decide what I'm gonna do with this. Is anyone in my family gonna wear it or not? I'm just not gonna put it on myself. I don't look good with hats. I look ridiculous with hats, especially because I wear glasses and they just sit awkward around my glasses and I cannot live without my glasses. So I do see myself making more of these just for the process. And small needles, there is something so nice when it comes to small needles. Usually when it comes to projects, I have to have one project on my metal needles and my wooden bamboo needles, and I do need to have a smaller project, either if it's socks or hat, anything on a tiny small needle, because I like to interchange even daily between the needles, the yarn, that sensory feel. I need that sensory feel with wood, metal and things during the day. So yeah, that's why I like to have multiple projects on the go. I made adult medium to large because my kids have adult size head. My son is 11 and his foot is 44. Which is huge. I am 40. So even if I were to make socks, I could make, I'm no longer making anything kids or babies. It's all adult sizes in my family. So I also timed myself for this project and this took 23 hours and 37 minutes, which is not too bad. I actually thought this would take a lot longer, but 23 hours is pretty quick for such a tiny gauge and for how long it is. So this used 98 grams of yarn. I was measuring my yarn as I was knitting. When I finished increases, I put the yarn on a scale just to see how much yarn was used for the increase, just to make sure I leave enough for decreases. And that's when I was knitting until that amount, and then I used the rest for decreases, and that was perfect. That's how you use the whole skein in one project and you don't have any leftovers. The pattern cost me $11.27. This yarn cost $12 and the whole project cost $23.27. I forgot to mention the wool content. This is 80% wool, 20% polyamide, which is usually normal for socks because it makes them durable. My next accessory is penny gloves by PetiteKnit. You saw me talking about this yarn in one of my previous videos because I was very curious about the Cardiff Cashmere. But this is the Cardiff Cashmere Brush Light. I love this yarn, I have to say, but I also do regret making them in a brush light instead of the classic, because I feel like they would be more functional if I would make them in a classic yarn than this brush light. Let's talk about the pattern first. So Penny Gloves by PetiteKnit. It is a very simple one size fit fingerless gloves. They are made on a 3mm needles. I was on gauge with this pattern, but the problem is I'm not sure if it's the yarn or one size fits all. This is huge on me and I don't have small hands. I would assume that it is the yarn issue, not the pattern or the needles or my gauge or whatever, because even my husband, when he tried this on, it fits him nice, but it is really loose for me. It's falling off me. I do have to say that Cardiff Cashmere brush light is really nice and soft and fluffy, and I did enjoy working with this yarn. Would I use this yarn for a project like this another time? No. Definitely not. I would definitely go for the classic. If you were to make fingerless gloves, you can make them out of 125-gram ball of Cardiff Cashmere. Just go for the classic and you can get this beautiful soft gloves, which are, this is like heaven. I cannot even explain to you how soft this is. I do see myself making one day a full garment out of the Cardiff Cashmere. I also did the math and I did some calculations on like a basic minimalist small, not even oversized garment. It would cost me between $375 to $400, which is a lot. Which is a lot for one garment, but it is so worth. Now that I think, do I need 20 sweaters in my wardrobe, or would I have one that is really worth the yarn, the fabric that it gives? I think it is. I think it is, and there is nothing so soft like this. My sensitive skin cannot even feel this. This is beautiful. One day I will make myself a full sweater out of the Cardiff Cashmere, and I'm promising this to myself. And I'll make one for my husband. He also deserves one. This was on my needles for 42 days, which is ridiculously long, how small they are. I casted them on and then I needed needles for something different, and then I just forgot about this project, and then I was going through my whips and I was like, I need to finish all of these projects before I cast my spring ones, because I have so much yarn coming. I'm gonna show you in my next video knitting for olive unboxing, which is not gonna be unboxing, it's already unboxed. I have the yarn for 3 weeks already, but I'm just gonna show you all my knitting for olive yarn, my first impressions, and this is my first time getting the yarn. And I decided before I even start any project with those yarn, I need to get rid of all of my whips, and that's what I was doing. This took me 2 days to finish, and it was on my needles for 42 days. It used only 21.5 grams. I could have used more, but I was very mindful. I shortened the length of the bottom part, which I still think is ridiculously long, because I think in the pattern on PetiteKnit or Mete, on her it looks like it's coming here, which is ridiculously long. I didn't need that. The pattern costs $9.61 and the yarn cost me $48.95, and I'm including shipping into this because that's the only thing I ordered from Morrison & Sons. I ordered one ball of Cardiff Cashmere and paid $12 shipping just to get it to me. I think just the ball is around $36 or $37. So in total this project cost me $58.46, which is a lot, but still this is Cardiff Cashmere and it is very expensive yarn. Alright, so these are technically all my finished projects. I have only 3 whips to share, which all of them should be done this weekend except for one, because on Monday is first day of the spring and I'm looking forward to cast on all my new yarns and all my new projects, which I will talk in the next video. I'm not gonna talk about my plans or any yarn acquisitions because I have a new video coming out and this video is already too long. So my first maybe finished projects, except for ends that need to be woven in, is another Tolsta tee, but this time it's a Tolsta tee with long sleeves. After I finished my Tolsta tee, let me just put it here so you can see and compare. So after I finished my Tolsta tee, my daughter fell in love with it and she said I wanted the same thing but long sleeve. I'm like, perfect, I'm gonna make it as a jumper. I just need to size up heavily because I want it to be loose fitting, not like this. This is very tight on my body. I just want it for her to be loose fitting as a jumper so she can wear it on an upcoming trip. She's going to Japan in a month and she will be there for 2 weeks, and I want her to have something that is not overly warm but still it's gonna keep her warm. This is cotton, so it's not like wool warm, but still it's very heavily warm. It's a heavy garment, let's face it. It's all cotton and cotton is very heavy. Since I had a lot of colors, she decided to go with these colors. The only thing I didn't have was the white like I had for mine, but I did have the Bendigo Woollen Mills 4-ply in a bit off-white, so I decided to go with this one. I held this double and the rest of the colors are 8-ply and it works perfectly. There you can't even tell the difference that there is that one is held double and that the other one is 8-ply. So with this one, my tension was a bit looser just because I did them on bamboo needles and it was so much easier and so much nicer to work with. Still, the stitch definition is beautiful. Stitch definition is still beautiful and nice and not as tight on this one, not like this one is more perfect. This one is more like loose. You can still see that it's not 100% perfect, but I was happy with it, knowingly that cotton is non-forgiving and it's not gonna block. The reason why this is maybe not a finished object is the neckline. I forgot to size down the neckline. I didn't think about that. So this is made in size 6, which is not mine or my daughter's size. So we are technically the same size. I think she's only bigger in the bust and smaller in the waist. Everything else we are pretty much the same. So I decided to go for size 6 just to achieve the oversized look, because I was again off gauge, because I was still making this tighter than what Creabea or Rebecca Claw extension is. So the neckline is very wide, and this being cotton and very heavy garment, it is stretching out, especially with all these sleeves being very heavy. So I need to make a decision whether I want to go back in and cut into the collar and size down the collar. The thing is, my daughter, she doesn't want me to do it. She wants to wear it straight away. Her trip is in a month. I still have plenty of enough time to fix this before she travels to Japan, but she doesn't want it. She doesn't care. I do care, because I know this is gonna stretch even more over time, and we are still in a negotiation process. I'm gonna weave the ends this weekend and block it and finish with it, and then I will let her have it for a week or 2, and then I will still have time to go back and fix the neckline before she leaves for Japan. So yeah, technically this is a finished object. For the counting time of my project, I'm only counting the time that they spend on my needles. I don't count the time that it takes me to weave in ends and block it, because it's actually a really quick process. I don't procrastinate things like this. So this will be done this weekend, and she will get to wear it next week, and we will then make decision whether I'm gonna cut into the neckline and fix it, make it smaller, or she's happy to wear it as it is. So yeah, this is my whip, or better say finished project. Another Tolsta tee, long sleeve Tolsta tee. I actually, when it comes to sleeves, I forgot that she actually has a mod for sleeves, but I forgot about that. So I did my own decreases for the sleeves and just did my own math, which I'm actually glad that I did, because she wants you to knit straight without any decreases for a very long time, and then you have rapid decreases for the rest of the arm, which I'm glad I didn't do. I did even gradual decreases along the arm, and it fits perfectly. I do see myself making another one of these, because I do have a lot of Hobbii yarn left over, but I don't have a nice colors. But I do have some other yarn, cotton yarn laying around that I could use. So I do see myself making another wear one of these for myself and maybe even my husband. Like I said, even if this is cotton, this could be a winter sweater for us. We don't have to wear wool during winter because this is warm enough and nice to wear winter, autumn, even spring. So yeah, I do see myself making more cotton ones. So my next whip is Pole Cardigan by PetiteKnit. It is a beautiful construction cardigan. I was looking for a long time which cardigan I want to make, and I was thinking, should I make Eva cardigan by PetiteKnit? But then the problem with Eva cardigan is that first button on everyone's picture, the fabric is flapping over that button, and that bothers me so much. I am very much perfectionist, and if something is that much bothering me, I wouldn't wear it outside at least. I'm gonna talk about the pattern in a second. Let me first talk about the yarn, because the yarn was actually the reason I went for this cardigan. I'm tangled here, give me a second. So this is Bendigo Woollen Mills yarn in their rustic tweed. Wow, the way you see this color right now, it looks like a beautiful blue color. But guys, this has nothing to do with blue in the real life. This is so gray. And I'm gonna pop up some pictures so you can see the difference. This looks in so many different pictures I saw in the Bendigo Woollen Mills Facebook group compared to their website, compared to what I see in a real life. It's totally different. What I thought I was getting was a beautiful baby blue speckled yarn, but in reality this is like a very dusty gray, here and there blue, like really here and there blue, more gray. I was disappointed. I was disappointed when I received this color, and at that time I didn't know I can return yarn, which I've learned that I can because I also bought their Wollen yarn, which is their newer yarn range. It is really nice and soft. It is such a beautiful yarn. I didn't work with it. I returned that yarn because that yarn has a very, very, very strong sheep smell, and I cannot handle sheep smell. I am very sensitive to smell, and for example, this smells like sheep, but this smells like sheep when I bring it to my nose and smell it. That yarn was in my hallway, and I can smell it downstairs in my kitchen, how strong that was. And it wasn't just for me, every single family member could smell it along the house, how strong that was. And I'm so sad because it's really beautiful and soft and such a special yarn. I bought it for a special project. I was so looking forward to work with it, but unfortunately I just couldn't. The smell was so strong that I was feeling nauseous every time I'm close to the yarn, so I returned the yarn. If you don't mind smell, please try Wollen yarn because it is really nice and soft, and the paper bark, I think it's paper bark color, it's really beautiful color. It has some marling in it and it's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous. Let's go back to this yarn. This yarn doesn't smell. None of other Bendigo Woollen Mills yarns have smell. Only Wollen. But I was disappointed in the color, and I was like, what do I want to do with this? I didn't know I can return it at the time, and I knew whatever I make, I probably won't wear a lot outside of the house because I was self-conscious of the color. And then I was like, let's make a house cardigan. Let's make a nice, oversized, beautiful cardigan that I will wear around house because, let's face it, 99% of the time I spend at home. And I was looking through the patterns. Eva cardigan was a contender, and then Pole cardigan was the second one. And I watched so many other knitters and YouTubers talk about the Pole cardigan, about the construction, how much thoughtful this is, how much you can learn, how much there is so much going in this pattern, and I'm enjoying it. It is very potato chip. You start with the saddle shoulders, which is, I'm not sure if you can see, it starts from here to here. It's one panel, you cast it off, then you start with the second panel, and then you join them at the back. And from there you do the back with some German short row shaping, and after that you pick up for the front, you are increasing for the v-neck, you are increasing for the armhole, You do this on the both sides and then you join in the round, which is not a round, it's flat. You are knitting this flat all the time. This was actually my first full project knitted flat, and I've learned that I have another tension issue, which, like I said, I don't have tension issues with my purl rows. I have tension issue with my knits rows. And I was on gauge when I started. I started with 22, which was these panels, and I thought, oh, I better size up since I want this oversized and loose. I should size up. By the time I got to the end, my gauge on the bottom is 19. That's how loose I got working flat on the bottom. So this is very oversized on me now. It fits perfectly here, but it goes like a skirt down there, which it's still fine for what I'm gonna use this. It's still fine. It's beautiful. I finished one sleeve. This sleeve is not blocked. The rest is blocked because I needed to block it before I pick up the stitches for the button band. The button band is gonna be double knit button band, but what's beautiful is this color, because first she has you do the color, and this color took me 5 hours to make it because all the different techniques that go into this, and it was fun. It was fun learning all these techniques. After that I will make the button band, but before I make a button band I'm gonna add a couple of centimeters to the length. I didn't finish this because I wanted to use up all the yarns. That's why I went in and finished one sleeve. I will finish the second sleeve today and weigh my leftovers. I already did a swatch for the double knitted button band, just so I know how many grams go per centimeters. This is 3 centimeters and it used exactly 3 grams. So I need around 130 to 140 grams for the button band, and then whatever is left I can put into the bottom length. This is beautiful. But there is one problem I've learned with knitting flat, and the continental combination knitting that comes with it. My stitches in the ribbing are wonky for some reason. I cannot tell you the reason why. I did a research and apparently it is very common with combination continental knitters. I'm gonna put some links down below where you can see the technique, how person who I find fixes this, and the method she uses. It is called dry blocking. This is actually blocked, but it didn't help. But I'm gonna try the dry blocking method. I'm gonna show you what my wonkiness looks like when it's in 1x1 rib knitted flat. This is due to the fact, and these are not twisted stitches. Please don't come and say that I'm twisting stitches. It's not. This is just the fact that one round is knitted one way and the other one round way this way, and stitches are just leaning because in continental combination you are mounting your stitches differently and they just end up leaning differently for I don't know why, because in the round I have never had an issue. Look, there is no issue working in the round when I'm purling. Never. This is immaculate. But for some reason, the flat knitting leaves this effect and I don't like it. And by the next episode, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna figure it out on a swatches. I'm gonna play with it. I'm gonna find a solution to this problem because I want to have more cardigans in my life and I don't want to have these wonky stitches because this is not looking nice. Let me show you from the close-up. I'm gonna do the collar first because this is very obvious. So this is 2x2, I think, or 2x1, I don't remember. But can you see that wonkiness in the knit stitches? Let me see if I can point it out for you guys. For example, this one is leaning this side. The bottom one is leaning this side. The one below is leaning this side. And they're all alternating like that. And it is so annoying. I'm not gonna go back and fix this color because this is 5 hours in this color and it is not fixable at the moment because of the there is a technique she uses and I can no longer fix it because there is a contrast yarn that is knit into this, and once it's done you pull it out, so I cannot go back and fix this, and I'm not gonna go. This is my house jumper. I just want to learn how to fix this for the future garments because I want to make more cardigans knitted flat without having wonky ribbing. For example, bottom is blocked and very stretched at the moment. I was hoping that the blocking would help, but it didn't. It's still very wonky. The other thing, I tried dry blocking between these two stitches. And there is improvement. I can see that there is improvement, and I might go back and fix it with this method of dry blocking. Like I'm saying, I'm gonna link it down below what she's doing and how she's fixing this. It is so much better. Let me see if you can see this. Between those two stitch markers, just look for the knit columns compared to everything else. It's very obvious in a real life. I can tell that it is improving, that the technique is working, but it is just gonna be a very tedious and long process, and I'm gonna fix it. I am perfectionist. I'm not gonna rip it. I'm not gonna go back because at the moment I don't know how to do it any different unless I go and purl continental. But I'm not gonna play on this big garment because this is over 300 stitches and I can't be bothered to work this out on so many stitches. So what I'm gonna do until next episode, I'm gonna do a couple of swatches and I'm gonna work flat all the different ribbings with all the different purling methods. I'm gonna try mine. I'm gonna try just purl continental without combination continental, without purling clockwise, and we'll see how that goes. It is just something I want to learn and I want to fix it for my future garments, and I'm just gonna live with this because I do like. Another reason I went for the cardigan is because this was very itchy. It's actually really itchy, and rustic tweed is somewhere between classic and luxury when it comes to scratchiness and itchiness. Since I blocked this and washed this, I can tell you guys, this part is blocked and it's so much softer, so much nicer compared to the arm that is not blocked. This is so bad, so scratchy, and this part is so nice and fluffy, and you can even tell there is some halo going on in this yarn, fuzziness. And yeah, it's a beautiful yarn. It is their rustic tweed. There are some beautiful colors. I thought, actually at first I never thought I would make anything again with this yarn because I didn't like it, but now after washing and probably after I start wearing it, it's gonna soften up even more and I'm gonna like it even more. So yeah, this is my experience with all the Bendigo Woollen Mills yarn. Technically I tried everything except for Wollen, which is beautiful and soft. It's really nice looking. Just go online and have a look of their swatches. It has a little marling to it and it's beautiful. After all of this experience with Bendigo Woollen Mills, I would definitely suggest their yarn. It is very affordable, it is cheap, it is Australian, so why not support Australian? In saying that, I do want to try all the other European brands because at the moment I'm in a phase of learning and exploring, and I do want to try all the other European famous yarns just so I can compare, just so I can find what works for me, because my skin is very sensitive. I've learned that I'm sensitive to mohair, so I might need to explore some alpaca, like Surrey alpaca, and yeah, just find the yarns that work for my skin. So yeah, since this is my whip, I'm not gonna talk into the details because you will hear all the details once this is finished. I'm making size large, but at the moment it's looking like 2 extra large, so it is what it is. Next time this will be a finished project. And my last whip I have is like an accident whip because I thought I would have to go travel somewhere and I was like, I need a car project, I need something small on the go, let's cast on socks. And I've casted on socks in the same yarn I made my husband his sweater, so it is the same this yarn. I have a lot of leftovers and I realized I have enough to make a DK socks, and this is a vanilla DK socks by Crazy Sock Lady. It is a free pattern on Ravelry and it is very basic. I already did 2 of her socks in vanilla fingering weight, and this is just DK weight, and I'm not sure if I'm on gauge, if this is gonna be too big or not, and I don't care honestly, because this is not a sock yarn. This is like this is classic yarn, and what I'm gonna make, I'm just gonna make my husband a cozy lounge house socks. Nothing he will wear in shoes or outside the house. It's just gonna be something he can lounge in and be warm during winter. This is gonna be finished in spring, so he will probably wear it next year, but still, I'm fine. I just needed something on the go, something small, because this was my on the go project, and since I have finished muscle bra, I needed something small, and this was handy, and I was just curious how this will work. So this one is done on a 3mm needle. She calls for 3.25, which I didn't have in a small circulars. I do have in a bamboo, but I didn't want to do it on bamboo because I was scared they're gonna snap. For my sock, I prefer Chiagu red lace 9-inch circulars. So I decided to do it on a smaller needle, but the larger size. So we'll see where that takes me. I'm not fussed about it. It is just a scrap yarn and a scrappy project I wanted to have on the go. And that's it, guys. Oh my god. I've been talking for 2 hours now. I know that when I start editing this, I will cut this, I hope, to an hour, not longer than an hour, but I've been talking for 2 hours now and I'm exhausted. I do have one project in mind that I already have yarn bought, and that is I wanted to try to make another Tolsta tee, but fingering Tolsta tee, just because I just want to try it. Since I fell in love with all these Tolsta tees, I just want to try a fingering one, and I wanted to make it like navy and cream striped version, like a French looking one. Since then, I also bought another Creabea pattern because she had her birthday sale, and since I like the Tolsta tee, I decided to bought the Lusk tee, which is very similar when it comes to everything you get in the pattern, but it is just a different construction. It is I think satin sleeve or drop shoulder sleeve. I'm not sure, I forgot what it is, but I will see which pattern I will make, because since it's gonna be striped, I'm just gonna decide whether I'm just gonna decide which one I like more for the stripes that I'm looking for. So this is one of the projects that's gonna be my spring cast on, and this is gonna be a long going project because this is gonna be, I think, on a 3mm needles, and it's gonna take forever. This is super thin, but it's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be fingering, lightweight, spring, summer, and it's gonna be so much lighter than this, and I'm looking forward to work on this and to have it. And that's it, guys. Those are my plans at the moment. Stay tuned for the next video where I will be unboxing all my Knitting for Olive yarn. It's a lot. I spent $650 in Knitting for Olive. I bought all of their yarn except for no wool waste yarn. I wasn't interested in that one, but everything else I have with me. I have multiple projects in mind, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you like this. I know it's a total different content from my crochet content and my plushes that I've been making for the past couple of months, but it is also part of me, and like you see, I do embroidery, I do sewing, I do a lot. I'm not just crocheter, I do all the fiber arts. So this is just a small section that I will be making probably monthly, because there is not a lot of progress you can make with knitting. So I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you will follow me on my knitting journey and everything that comes with it, and the learning process. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting.